The Smiling Man of Shelter Creek. The mailman had walked this street for 11 years. He knew every dog, every squeaky porch, every friendly wave. But on this Tuesday morning, something was very, very wrong. Tom Briggs was not the kind of man who got scared easily. He was 54 years old. He had delivered mail in Shelter Creek, Montana, for 11 years. He knew this town like he knew his own kitchen. He knew which houses had dogs. He knew which porches had loose steps. He knew that old Mr. Henderson always wanted to talk about the weather for 10 minutes before accepting his package. Shelter Creek was that kind of place. Small, quiet, safe. Population 2,400 people. One traffic light. One diner called Patty's, where Patty herself still took orders and remembered that Tom liked his coffee with 2 sugars and no milk. Nothing bad ever happened in Shelter Creek. That was what Tom always told his wife. He stopped saying that after October 8th, 2019. It was a cool Tuesday morning. The leaves were turning orange and red. Tom was walking down Birchwood Lane with his mailbag over his shoulder, thinking about nothing in particular. Maybe dinner, maybe the football game on Sunday. Then he stopped. He stood at the corner of Birchwood Lane and just looked. Every single front door on the street was open. All 14 of them. Tom blinked. He thought maybe he was seeing things. He rubbed his eyes. He looked again. Open. Every single one. He called out, "Hello?" His voice went down the empty street and came back to him with nothing. He walked up to the first house, the Garner place. Sandra Garner was a school librarian. She had 2 kids, a golden retriever named Biscuit, and she always waved at Tom from her kitchen window when he came by. Tom knocked on the open door. "Sandra, you okay in there?" No answer, no barking, nothing. He stepped inside, just 1 step, and looked around. The kitchen light was on. There was a cup of coffee on the table, still steaming, a piece of toast, half eaten. The TV in the living room was playing a cartoon, talking to an empty couch. Sandra Garner was gone. Tom felt something cold move through his chest. Not fear exactly, more like the feeling you get when something is wrong but you don't know what yet. That uncomfortable feeling in your stomach that says, this is not normal. He went to the next house. Empty. The next one. Empty. He checked all 14 houses on Birchwood Lane. Every single one was empty. But in every single house, life had just stopped. Mid-breakfast, mid-coffee, mid-morning. Like everyone had simply vanished into thin air. Tom Briggs called 911 at 8:47 in the morning. His hands were shaking when he dialed. Sheriff Dale Mercer had been the sheriff of Shelter Creek for 19 years. In those 19 years, the biggest case he had dealt with was a fight between 2 brothers, the Hollis brothers, over a piece of farmland. That was back in 2014. He still thought about it sometimes as the most stressful week of his career. He arrived on Birchwood Lane within 6 minutes of Tom's call. He walked the street slowly, both hands in his pockets. His young deputy, Cassie Yunt, 26 years old, smart, always carrying a notepad, walked beside him. 14 houses, Cassie said quietly. All empty. Yep, said Mercer. Where do 40 people go at the same time? Mercer looked down the street. The open doors, the autumn wind moving through quiet houses. Somewhere inside one of the homes, a phone was ringing and nobody was picking up. I don't know, he said, and that was the most honest answer he had. By noon, everyone came back. All 41 residents of Birchwood Lane returned to their homes, confused, frightened, and with absolutely no memory of leaving. They didn't drive back. They didn't walk back from somewhere nearby. One moment they were gone. Then they were just there again. Sheriff Mercer sat across from Sandra Garner at her kitchen table. The cold coffee was still there, the half-eaten toast. She was sitting with her hands wrapped around a new warm cup, staring at nothing. Sandra, Mercer said gently, what do you remember about this morning? She thought hard. I made coffee. I sat down. I was going to read the news on my phone before the kids woke up. She paused. And then I was standing in a field. Which field? Oakhurst Field, out on Route 12. She looked at him. I was barefoot, Dale. I was standing in the middle of that field in my pajamas with no phone, no shoes, and 40 other people from this street standing around me. We were all just standing there, like we had always been standing there. Mercer wrote everything down. Did anyone say anything? We all just looked at each other, Sandra said. Her voice was very quiet now. Nobody knew what had happened. We all just started walking back home. She looked at her cold coffee. I don't even remember deciding to leave the house. They sent the footage to 3 different forensic imaging labs. The first 2 came back with nothing useful. Image quality too low, they said. The 3rd lab sent back a report that Cho read 3 times before she picked up the phone. Based on the known measurements of objects in the frame, the gas pump, the curb, the stop sign, the lab had estimated the height of the figure. He was tall, yes, around 6'2", as Marcus had said. But there was something else. The figure was not standing on the ground. According to the analysis, the figure was approximately 4 inches above the surface of the road. Cho stared at that line for a long time. She was a practical woman. She believed in evidence. She believed in logic. She had spent her whole career looking for the real explanation behind things that seemed impossible. She called Mercer. "Come to the office," she said. "I need to show you something." The disappearances never happened again after that second incident. The tall, smiling man was never identified. No name, no fingerprints, no vehicle, no hotel records. Nobody in Shelter Creek recognized him. It was as if he had walked into town from nowhere and walked back into nowhere. The official report was filed quietly in February 2020. It concluded that 47 residents had experienced unexplained simultaneous displacement across 2 separate incidents. Witness accounts consistently described the same figure. Forensic image analysis was listed as inconclusive. The case is still open. Marcus Webb still lives on Delwood Avenue. He told a local journalist in 2021 that he checks his driveway every single night before he goes to sleep. "Every night," he said, "I look out the window, because now I know when he's standing there, something is going to happen." The journalist asked him what he thought the smiling meant. Marcus was quiet for a moment. "I don't think it means he's happy," he said. "I've thought about it a lot. I really have." He shook his head slowly. "I just know it doesn't mean he's happy." Sheriff Dale Mercer retired in 2022. On his last day, he cleaned out his desk. He left behind the coffee mug, the old photo of his deputies, the small cactus his daughter had given him, but he took the Shelter Creek case file home with him. His deputy Cassie asked him why. He thought about it for a second. "Because some things," he said, "shouldn't just sit in a drawer." Nobody in Shelter Creek locks their doors anymore. They check their driveways instead.